I never thought a single sentence could change your entire life, but hers did. I remember it like it happened yesterday. We were sitting on the edge of my tiny apartment couch, her arms crossed, eyes narrowed, and she looked right at me and said, "You'll never be a father." The words hit me like a punch I wasn't ready for. I blinked, unsure if I had heard her correctly, but no, she had said it. And she meant it. Her name was Emily, my girlfriend at the time. I had loved her more than anything. At least, I thought I did. We'd shared dreams, late-night talks, even the kind of laughter that made your cheeks hurt. But in that moment, all of that seemed fragile, like glass about to shatter under the weight of one harsh word. I wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, but something in her tone, in her eyes, froze me. It was a mix of disappointment, doubt, and maybe contempt. At the time, I didn't realize how much that sentence would follow me, cling to me, like a shadow I couldn't shake. You see, I'd always imagined myself as a father one day, holding a tiny human in my arms, teaching them to ride a bike, tucking them in at night. But suddenly, Emily had cast a vote against that future. And more than anything, I hated that her words made me question myself. Fast forward a few months, and life had a way of twisting the story you think you know. Emily and I drifted apart, slowly, painfully, until there was no coming back. But here's the part that nobody ever warned me about. After all the heartbreak, after all the doubts, I found myself standing in the middle of a life I never saw coming, raising a family. A family I never expected. And not with her. It wasn't just anyone. It was her sister, the one I had always known but never really noticed in the way that matters. Her laugh had always been brighter, her presence warmer, and somehow, when Emily had shut the door on me, her sister opened one I didn't even know existed. But falling for her to fall for me, it wasn't simple. There were memories, unspoken rules, loyalties, and the kind of complicated family dynamics that could explode at any moment. And yet, here I am, trying to navigate this unexpected path, holding a baby in my arms, chasing a toddler around the living room, and wondering how a single sentence could have led me here. How life can twist in ways that feel impossible, unfair, and yet, maybe, just maybe, meant to be. But what Emily doesn't know, and what I'm only starting to understand, is that some secrets, some choices, have consequences that stretch far beyond what you can see. And one day, all of this is going to come crashing down in ways I never could have imagined. Before everything fell apart, Emily and I were normal, I guess. At least, that's what I thought. We weren't perfect, but we had a rhythm, late-night dinners at greasy diners, quiet weekends binge-watching shows, laughing at the stupidest things. I loved her in a way that made everything feel lighter, like I could handle anything if she was by my side. And I think, for a while, she loved me too. Then there was her sister, Claire, the quiet one, always in the background, watching, listening, taking it all in. I never thought of her as anything more than Emily's sister. Warm, funny in a subtle way, the kind of person people notice only when they stop to look. But life has this strange way of rearranging the people around you. Emily had always been skeptical of me. Not openly cruel, but she questioned everything. My job, my dreams, even my character. I remember nights lying awake, replaying her words, "You'll never be a father." At first, I thought it was anger talking, frustration. But soon, I realized it wasn't temporary. She truly didn't believe in me. Or maybe she just didn't want me to be part of her world that way. After we broke up, the apartment felt empty in a way that went beyond missing her. It was like a hole had opened in my chest, and everything I thought I knew about love and family was falling through it. I didn't expect Claire to step in, or that I would even notice her in the way I eventually did. But life has this uncanny sense of irony. The people who seem invisible sometimes turn out to be the ones holding the pieces you didn't even know were broken. Claire had been there when Emily left, quietly supporting me in ways I didn't ask for but desperately needed. She never criticized, never judged, just listened. And slowly, I started noticing things. Her smile when she thought I wasn't looking, the way she remembered little details about my life, the way she made the world feel softer, safer. It was confusing. It felt wrong. But it also felt like the first time I could breathe in months. And then came the surprise, a baby. Not mine at first, but suddenly, somehow, my life shifted. Responsibilities, decisions, emotions I wasn't ready for. And before I could fully process it, I found myself being drawn into a family that wasn't mine by blood, but somehow felt like it could be. A family I didn't expect, with a woman I never thought I'd see that way, all while Emily's shadow lingered on the edges of everything I did. I was caught in a whirlwind of feelings: love, guilt, fear, hope, and every step forward felt like walking on a tightrope. Because the truth was, I knew nothing would ever be simple. Relationships are messy, and when family is involved, every move can set off a chain reaction you can't control. And just when I thought I was starting to figure things out, I noticed the first signs that not everyone was as happy or as forgiving as I hoped. Emily had her own plans, her own ideas about what should happen next, and if I wasn't careful, everything I was trying to build could crumble before it even started. Just when I thought I could find some kind of peace with Claire, reality came crashing in. Emily didn't just leave quietly. She lingered, not physically, but in messages, in the shared memories that refused to fade, in the occasional pointed questions from mutual friends. Every time I saw her name pop up on my phone, my stomach twisted. It wasn't just that she doubted me anymore. It was that she wanted me to know she still had power over me, over the life I was trying to build. And then there were the comparisons. People would make casual jokes, half mean, half ignorant, about me moving on with her sister, and I hated it. Hated that it felt like I was betraying someone, even though Emily had already walked away. Claire tried to brush it off, tried to shield me from the whispers and the judgment. But you can't control how the world sees you, or how past relationships leave scars that no one else can erase. I started noticing small cracks in what I thought was stable. Arguments that shouldn't have been arguments. Moments when Claire would pull away suddenly or stare at me with a question she wouldn't voice. And every time I worried. Was I pushing too fast? Was I stepping into a family dynamic that I couldn't navigate? Or worse, was this all doomed before it had a chance to grow? Then came the first real storm. Emily showed up unexpectedly, at the apartment, at the park, even once at the daycare. Always polite, always smiling, but there was an edge beneath it that made my skin crawl. She never said it outright, but I could feel the tension, the unspoken threat. Don't forget me. Don't think it's over. And just like that, the fragile bubble I was living in with Claire felt like it could burst at any second. I couldn't predict what she would do, and that uncertainty was worse than any argument. I wanted to protect Claire, to protect the family we were slowly forming, but I had no idea how. And as the nights grew longer, and the weight of responsibility settled on me, one thought haunted me more than anything. Maybe Emily had no intention of letting me go at all. And then, one afternoon, I got a message that made my heart stop. It wasn't long, just 4 words, but in those 4 words, everything I thought I knew about the future shifted. The message haunted me for days. For words that didn't just sit on my screen, they burned into my mind, twisting every thought I had about Emily, Claire, and the life I was trying to build. I stared at it countless times, replaying the tone in my head, wondering if there was some hidden meaning I couldn't grasp. But the more I thought about it, the more certain I became. Emily was planning something. And whatever it wasn't good. Life with Claire had been complicated, but beautiful in its own chaotic way. There were mornings filled with laughter as our little one demanded breakfast in mismatched socks, nights spent reading stories while the baby drifted to sleep, and the kind of quiet moments that made you forget the rest of the world. But those moments now felt fragile, like glass perched on the edge of a table, ready to shatter with the slightest touch. Every time Emily appeared, at a coffee shop, a friend's party, even just passing by with a familiar glance, it felt like a test. I could see the curiosity, the lingering judgment, the unspoken claim she still had on my life. And Claire, she sensed it too. She tried to hide it behind smiles and jokes, but there were nights when I'd catch her staring at me, her expression unreadable, a mixture of fear, frustration, and something I couldn't quite place. And I hated that I couldn't protect her from that unease. Then came the incidents that made my chest tighten. Small things at first, a misplaced toy in the living room, a strange phone call that ended abruptly, a friend mentioning they'd seen Emily near our neighborhood. Nothing concrete, nothing outright threatening, but enough to make the hairs on my arms stand on end. I found myself walking on eggshells. Every decision felt weighted, every interaction a potential trigger for conflict I wasn't ready for. I wanted to shield Claire, but the more I tried, the more I realized I couldn't control Emily or her influence. And the thought that she might step in and unravel everything we'd built sent a chill I couldn't shake. And then, the final warning came in the most unexpected way. I arrived home one evening to find a note slipped under the door. Simple and signed, but the words jumped off the page like daggers. You think you've escaped, but nothing's finished. My hands shook as I read it, heart hammering against my ribs. For a moment, I felt completely paralyzed, unsure whether to be terrified or furious. Claire noticed immediately. Her eyes searched mine, and I could see the panic I was trying to hide reflected back at me. And in that silence, I realized something terrifying. Whatever Emily had planned, it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the family we were slowly, carefully trying to build. And if I wasn't careful, it could all be ripped away in an instant. I didn't know what was coming next, but I had a sinking feeling that once it did, nothing would ever be the same. Just when I thought Emily's interference was the worst I had to worry about, the truth hit me like a thunderbolt. I was scrolling through my phone one night, checking messages from Claire about the baby's schedule, when I stumbled across a conversation I wasn't supposed to see. It wasn't Emily's name that froze me, it was Claire's. Her words were casual, almost playful at first, but the meaning was anything but innocent. She had been hiding something from me, something that could change everything I thought I knew about our family, about our life, about us. The revelation made my stomach drop. Claire had known more about Emily's plans than she ever told me. She had been in contact with her sister, subtly coordinating, keeping secrets under the guise of protection. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. The person I trusted most, the one I thought I could build a future with, was now wrapped up in a web I didn't understand. And worse, I had no idea if she was helping me or betraying me. I looked up and saw her standing in the doorway, smiling nervously, and my mind raced. How long had this been going on? And more importantly, how much of my life had already been manipulated without me even knowing? The confrontation happened faster than I expected. I came home that evening, the weight of Claire's hidden messages pressing down on me, my heart thundering in my chest. I didn't even knock. I just stormed into the apartment, needing answers, needing the truth. Claire was in the living room, baby asleep in the crib, and for a moment, she froze. Her calm facade cracked just slightly, but it was enough for me to see the fear in her eyes. "We need to talk," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "Now." She hesitated, then gestured for me to sit. And there it was, the confession I didn't want to hear but had expected in some form. Claire had been keeping tabs on Emily, yes, but it wasn't just out of concern. She had known Emily's manipulations were escalating, and she had tried to protect me, protect us, by pretending nothing was wrong. Every little secret, she had seemed like a betrayal at first, but now I realized it had been a shield, a barrier against chaos I couldn't have handled alone. Relief and guilt collided in my chest. I wanted to scream at her for hiding things, but I also wanted to hold her, to thank her, to never let go. And as we sat there, hearts pounding, I realized something fundamental. Claire had been my anchor all along. She hadn't betrayed me. She had been fighting the same battle I didn't even fully see. Just when the tension seemed to ease, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You're not done yet." My blood ran cold. I looked at Claire, and she mirrored my fear. Even now, after every secret, every twist, there was still someone, something, that wasn't finished with us. Emily, or something more. I didn't know. But one thing was clear, the story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I held Claire's hand tightly, feeling the tiny warmth of our child between us, and I knew we would face whatever came next together. But deep down, I couldn't shake the sense that the final twist, the one that would change everything, was still waiting, lurking just around the corner, ready to strike when we least expected it. The days after the confrontation were quieter, but not peaceful. Emily didn't appear again, at least not in person, and the messages stopped. Or maybe I just chose not to see them. Claire and I slowly rebuilt the trust that had been tested, layer by layer. It wasn't instant, healing never is. But the difference now was honesty. Every fear, every doubt, every secret that had hovered between us was out in the open. And for the first time in months, I felt like we were moving forward together, not apart. Raising a family with Claire wasn't easy. Sleepless nights, endless diapers, the The small but constant emergencies that make parents feel like life is a tightrope walk. It was exhausting, frustrating, and messy, but it was also breathtaking in ways I never imagined. I would watch our child take their first steps, hear their laughter echo through the apartment, and feel a kind of joy that Emily's words could never have stolen from me. Claire became my partner in every sense, not just in love, but in life. She wasn't just my girlfriend, she was my family, my teammate, my anchor. And together, we learned that the past, painful, confusing, and complicated, couldn't dictate the future unless we let it. Every argument, every tear, every secret that had once threatened to destroy us became a lesson, a reminder that love and trust are earned, nurtured, and fiercely protected. And yet, life has a way of reminding you that it isn't always tidy. Sometimes, a shadow lingers in the corner, a whisper of doubt or fear, just enough to keep you vigilant. But now, when I think about Emily, I don't feel panic or anger. I feel a strange gratitude for the challenges, for the heartbreak, for the moments that forced me to grow, to learn, to see who really stood by me. One evening, as Claire and I tucked the baby into bed, I realized how far we'd come. The apartment smelled faintly of dinner and lavender, the quiet hum of life all around us. Claire leaned her head on my shoulder, and for a moment, the world outside didn't matter. All the secrets, the twists, the betrayals, they were behind us. What mattered was here, in this tiny living room, in the laughter and the warmth and the family we had created. And maybe that's the takeaway. The one thing I want anyone watching this to understand. Life will throw doubts at you. People will underestimate you. And sometimes the people you love the most may test you in ways you can't foresee. But love, real, enduring love, has a way of finding its way through the chaos. It can be messy, unpredictable, and even frightening. But it's also powerful enough to transform everything, even the pain of the past, into something worth holding on to. I had never thought I'd be a father, and yet here I am. Not with the person who doubted me, but with the person who believed in me in ways I didn't even realize I needed. And as I watched our child sleep peacefully, I understood something profound. Sometimes, life doesn't follow the path you expect, but that doesn't mean it can't lead you exactly where you're meant to be.